Hey y'all, welcome to my messy shop. So today I wanted to talk about portable refrigeration and portable electricity in a power bank. Um, I think there's no shortage of people out there, influencers, some of the bigger name overlander guys that are out here with some really awesome red arc power systems and fridge systems. And I think there's a group of y'all that are probably like me that you get out on a big trip for 4 to 7 days once a year, maybe some weekends here and there. And then also you have some other hobbies like maybe hunting, fishing, um, going to the lake, kayaking, canoeing, things like that, where you'd like some power and refrigeration options. Your whole life isn't all around these like extravagant trips from Mexico to the Arctic Circle or something like that. So there's a lot of options on power and refrigeration. I've got what I ended up with back here. For the fridge, I went with a fridge off Vivor. It is a dual zone fridge freezer. I think this one's like 35 or 37 quart, something like that. It's 12 volt, and then it has a AC inverter, so it's DC 12 volt. It's designed, to run most efficient on DC. And on the power, and I'm not going to get into a whole lot of specs on these things, but on the power station, it's a Blue Eddy. I think it's called the PS72. So I watched a really good video online on this. I think it was on their website. A guy did a review, and it was a good review. He went into a lot of the detail on kind of what it is, what it isn't. Essentially, it's a little older technology. The newer ones have a little more bells and whistles. This one doesn't have like app connect or Wi-Fi app connectivity. It has maybe a little older, outdated battery. There's lighter weight batteries now on the market, but I mean, this thing isn't that heavy. I don't know, 20 pounds or something, 25 pounds, something like that. It's got a lot of outlets. It turns on easy. And then one thing he went into that surprised me is he showed the discharge efficiency curve, and he showed it on AC output and DC output. And up until a point, the DC output on this is actually more efficient. So I think it was up to like 80 watts or something. If you're not using more than 80 watts then at a time, which this fridge, when it's cooled down and running, it's running like 35, 40 watts. When it's cooling down, it's running like 70. And that's mainly why I got this, was just so I didn't have to run power from my Jeep battery all the time. I did put a really good deep cycle battery in my Jeep, an AGM deep cycle, but I wanted this for when we weren't running and driving, and also to take around with me on some of the other things that we do. So I don't carry a cooler anymore. It's pretty nice. I can run this. This will go down to like -4 degrees Fahrenheit. On the freezer side or both sides, technically you can make the whole thing a freezer, the whole thing a fridge, or the dual zones. So on the dual zone, I mean, I usually run it like 0 or 2 degrees, and then the fridge side 37, 38 or something like that. But it's a pretty good like setup in conjunction with one another. So where I was getting at on the AC DC thing was that it's actually a little better in this case for this setup on the power draw to run everything DC, don't do anything AC. The one thing I would add maybe in the future is like a direct charge from the alternator, and not rely solely on a 12-volt cigarette lighter to charge this. So basically, and I will say that I keep this bag, which has all the adapters, and solar panel cables, user manuals, specs, all that stuff. I just keep in here. It's a pretty handy little way to just keep it all together. It also has cell phone charging, wireless charging up here on the top. So when you are back here, you can just throw your phone up on there, and it'll give you a top off. So when it's running, I get on my input side from the Jeep, at least when I'm not driving, I think I get like 70, 75 watts coming in. If I already have this cooled down, which if we are getting ready to go somewhere, I'll take it out, I'll fill it up with everything we want to put in it, and I'll pre-cool it, pre-freeze, whatever, off of AC 110 volt power here in the shop. So everything's cold and ready to go. So it runs like 35, 40 watts usually when it's running. And like I said, this is usually got an input voltage, or watt input power of like 70, 75 watts. So when you're running, this will stay topped off, and you'll continually run this. When we're stopped for short periods of time, I don't worry about it as far as unplugging this power from the Jeep. But if we're stopped for overnight, I'll go ahead and unplug that. I don't think the Bluetti has any discharge like safeties as far as built-in protections to like make sure you don't overdrain your car battery. I know this the fridge does, and it's adjustable. There's some settings you can adjust it at different voltage thresholds. It'll shut itself off to make sure that you don't drain your battery on your car. Also, so I went with a fridge style like this. It's about the cheapest compressor fridge I could find. There's other 12 volt options that are like technically called 12 volt coolers, and they just use like I forgot the exact terminology, but it's essentially like a heat sink to pull heat out of that, and it cools it, but it won't. They're not very efficient, and they won't get it that cold. They certainly won't freeze it. So this has got a compressor in it, just like your traditional refrigerator and freezer in your home. So that's why I went with that. Like this whole setup, I think these are getting ready to be phased out. So right now they're pretty cheap. I think Walmart.com is running some sales, and then Beaver's very inexpensive. I think altogether is right at $500 or less, and that's crazy inexpensive. I mean, most fridges on the market are more than that. I mean, there's some right in that range, but then you're not getting any of the power capabilities. This also doesn't have a huge solar input capability. I think it's only 200 watts, but for, like I said, I'm just not out there doing these huge trips for extended amounts of time, and this serves my needs very well. And so I hope something like this could help you if you're kind of in that same ballpark as I was, and I hope it allows you to spend less money on stuff like this and spend more money on getting out there and adventuring. I don't think there's any need for a slide or anything in this case. I've got a hitch carrier that I'm going to put in. I just installed a receiver hitch on the WJ. So obviously it does take up half the cargo area. I think this cargo area is pretty similar to like a JKU Wrangler, probably a little smaller than a 4Runner. But yeah, it takes up some space, maybe not half, a third anyway, because I am utilizing this space over here with some first aid gear. I'm a first responder, so kind of always have in the vehicles, kind of always have something to grab in case I need to be a good Samaritan. But yeah, so if you got any questions on the setup or where to find the stuff, I'd be happy to share links. And it's overall, it's been a great setup. We've used it at the lake several times. It's nice to not have to deal with ice and water and go get ice and remember ice, and then deal with the mess of water with the food. With the kiddos taking trips with us, we're throwing in crackers and snacks, cheese sticks, yogurt, all that stuff, and just to not have that floating around has been very, very nice. So I'm hoping here maybe in some of the upcoming videos we'll go over some of the other kits that I have. I've got like a daily carry bag that I have with me all the time. I've redone that bag since the last time I put out a video on it. It was a Fieldcraft survival bag that hung on the back of your seat, and you could then convert it to kind of be a backpack. I've been thinking through some new use case scenarios, and I felt like that was a little lacking in size and definitely comfort. If I found myself having to walk a very long time. And then the one that I have set up now is a dual purpose. It's kind of everything I would need for overnights at places, trips. There's extra room in it to throw my clothes in it. So it's just kind of my all-purpose do-all backpack. It's a little on the big side for just like an overnight bag, but then again, you have everything you need already in it. Should you break down on the way somewhere, or if you're going on a hike, it has everything a guy needs. So I'll probably go through that here one of these days. There's a lot of topics I want to hit. I'm always building out medical packs from my EMS roles, and so things like that I'd be happy to share with you. But I think for now this is it. So hope you guys found some value here in these 10 minutes or so, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks.